Let me tell you about one of the most unusual stories I've ever come across. It's about a man named Alan Gardner. And by pretty much any standard you can think of, his life was a spectacular failure. But here's the twist. He's not remembered for failing. He's remembered for what happened because of it. Okay, let's get into this.
So that's the central puzzle we're going to try and solve here. How does a guy who seems to lose at every single turn end up inspiring generations? It's a total paradox, and it completely flips the script on what we usually think of as a successful life.
And you know what? To really get this story, we have to start at the brutal, tragic end. We're in 1851, at the literal bottom of the world, Tierra del Fuego, and Alan Gardner and his team of 6 men are all dead, starved to death on a beach, a complete and utter disaster. So, how on earth did it come to this?
To solve that mystery, we need to rewind. We've got to go all the way back to understand the man himself, whose life was this really unique mix of high-seas adventure and just unshakable faith. You see, Gardner was practically born for adventure. He joins the Royal Navy when he's just a teenager and gets to see the world. But then, in 1820, everything changes. In a Chinese temple of all places, he has this incredibly powerful religious conversion. So he eventually leaves the Navy, a commander no less. But when he tries to become a missionary, the established societies, they all turn him down. They wanted ordained ministers, not some layman sailor. So right from the get-go, he was forced to go it alone. And that independent path? Well, it led him on this relentless, globe-spanning quest that was basically met with one slammed door after another. It's just a chronicle of defeat. Okay, so his first major shot is in South Africa, and he actually pulls off the near impossible. He wins the trust of the famously warlike Zulu chief. I mean, this was a massive breakthrough, until it wasn't. A brutal war breaks out between Dutch settlers and the Zulus, and his entire mission just gets wiped out in the crossfire. But did that stop him? Nope. Gardner sets his sights on South America. He and his family take this unbelievable journey, literally crossing the Andes on mules to reach these remote tribes in Chile. He starts building relationships, only to get completely shut down by powerful church authorities who would not tolerate a Protestant missionary on their turf. Another door slammed right in his face. From there, he sails halfway across the world to New Guinea. He was hoping for maybe a warmer welcome from the Protestant Dutch government. Instead, he was met with just pure contempt. A local official dismissed his entire life's purpose with this stunningly prejudiced comment, telling him he might as well try to teach monkeys. I mean, he wasn't just rejected, he was ridiculed.
You're starting to see the pattern here, right? His next attempt is in Patagonia. He makes contact, goes back to England full of hope. He even founds his own mission society to fund the work. But when he gets back, that friendly welcome has turned totally hostile. His party gets robbed, they're threatened, and in the end, they have to be rescued, stranded, and defeated. Each and every time he got so close, only to have it all just crumble.
Now, this is really interesting because it gives you a sense of what people thought back then. This quote is from Charles Darwin, written about 2 decades before Gardner's final trip. Darwin had actually been to Tierra del Fuego, and he basically concluded that its people, the Fuegians, were completely beyond help. So, in the eyes of the world, Gardner's final destination wasn't just difficult, it was pointless.
But Gardner didn't care what public opinion was, and he clearly wasn't deterred by his own track record of failure. He decided to go to the one place where no government or church could possibly interfere, the desolate, so-called hopeless land of Tierra del Fuego.
And the plan? Well, it was threadbare from the very start. It was a tiny team of 7 guys, including a doctor who literally closed his successful practice to join up. And their transport, not a proper ship, no. 2 tiny launches, boats that were barely seaworthy. They were essentially just dropped off in this incredibly harsh environment with a plan to be resupplied in 4 months. And almost immediately, everything that could go wrong did. Their supplies were stolen. They were forced to retreat and live on those dangerously small boats for safety. Then one of the boats gets wrecked, leaving them totally stranded. The resupply ship, it never showed up. And so, month after agonizing month, their food ran out, and one by one, they succumbed to starvation and sickness. A complete and total catastrophe. So, this is it. This is the end, the absolute lowest point, the culmination of a lifetime of failure. This really should have been the final, tragic footnote to his story. But incredibly, what was discovered in the wreckage of this mission is what turned the whole catastrophe into a catalyst. When a relief ship finally did arrive, months later, they found a devastating scene.
But they also found something else. The men's diaries, which had miraculously survived months of exposure to that harsh weather. And what was written inside those diaries was about to change everything. Just listen to this. This is from the diary of Dr. Williams, written as he was literally dying of starvation. He's not writing about despair or regret. He's writing about being happy beyond words and saying he would not have changed situations with any man living. It is an absolutely stunning testament to his faith in the face of certain death.
And this was Gardner's own prayer, written in his final days. Think about that. He's not praying for rescue. He's not praying for his own life. He is praying that his death will inspire more people to come and continue the work. His focus, even at the very, very end, was on the mission, not on himself.
And this lays out the paradox perfectly. What the world saw was a man who failed everywhere he went, whose life ended in a pointless, horrible tragedy. But because of those diaries, the story became one of incredible spiritual endurance. His death wasn't an end. It was a successful failure that became the catalyst for a whole new beginning.
Because when the news of their deaths, and especially the contents of those diaries, reached England, it didn't shut the mission down. No way. It did the exact opposite. It electrified people. Far from being a cautionary tale, their story became an incredible inspiration. Gardner's final prayer was answered in a way he could have never possibly imagined. More money, more volunteers poured in than ever before. His ultimate failure became his greatest success.
Which leaves us with this final question, right? Gardner's story really forces you to ask, is a life measured by the tangible successes we achieve day to day, or is it measured by the impact we leave behind, even if that impact only comes out of our greatest failures?